Hey movie lovers, welcome to another episode of Does It Hold Up? I'm Adam.
And I'm Emily, and we are bringing you our top 10 favorite spoof movies.
Or parodies, or satires. Any movie that makes fun of another genre. These are in no particular order, so don't come at us for, oh my god, I can't believe you had this one above this one. They're just our favorites, no order. And let us know in the comments below what your favorite spoof movie is of all time. And if you haven't already, check out our podcast, the Does It Hold Up podcast, anywhere podcasts are available, to hear our thoughts on two great spoof movies, Airplane and Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, which we covered over the last 2 weeks. And now, our top 10s. First up is Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. I could have included the entire trilogy here, but I feel like the second two movies use a little too much pop culture references, and they lose the fun that occurred in the first movie. And Austin Powers makes the list for a few reasons. This is a spoof of James Bond from 1997, where Austin is a spy that gets a new girl, in each movie, and he has to fight his arch nemesis, Dr. Evil, with the help of gadgets from his secret spy organization. Elizabeth Hurley plays the love interest in this, and the whole cast is just absolutely spectacular, top to bottom. It's written very well by the star Mike Myers, who pulls double duty as Austin Powers and his arch nemesis, Dr. Evil. The jokes come fast and loose, and everybody learns a lesson by the end of this movie. Austin starts as a sexist pig who is only here to hook up with women, but by the end might have found the one he wants to be with forever. It's just a great time where the jokes are funny, layered, clever, and you're going to get a lot out of it with each subsequent watch. Therefore, it makes this list.
Next up, we have 1974's Blazing Saddles. This is a spoof on classic Western movies. In this one, we follow Bart on his quest to be a great sheriff in the Old West. Problem is, he's African American. This movie manages to use comedy to comment on sensitive subject matter such as racism. Along with that, this movie also boasts clever jokes on movies in general with a finesse that only Mel Brooks can accomplish. Best part of this movie was honestly them running through the studio lot at the end. All funny jokes, perfect for this list.
Next movie on our list is from 2000. It's a spoof of Scream and all slasher/horror movies, and it's called Scary Movie. This movie makes the list because it's got great gags, and even though it's corny, it tells a really wonderful, heartfelt story that is very reminiscent of everything we get in those great 1980s and early to mid 1990s slasher flicks. It's amazing to think that this movie came out only 4 years after the first Scream movie and does such a good job of making fun of it, but also paying respect to what came before as well. The Wayans brothers, who both wrote and starred in this movie, knew exactly what they wanted to do, because the whole idea of this movie, although it's absurd, isn't to make fun of the movies that came before, but it's just to show that it can be done in a nice, fun, comedic way. One of the downfalls of Scary Movie, though, even though it doesn't hurt it too much, is much of the references are related to the year 2000 and the year 2000 alone. So watching it now, you're gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but maybe some of those jokes don't hold up as well as you'd think.
Next up, we have 2004's Kung Fu Hustle. This is a spoof on Kung Fu movies in general, as we follow Sing on his quest to become a true Kung Fu master, though honestly through all the wrong methods. What's funny about this one in particular is that it understands how ridiculous Kung Fu movies can be, and then it just takes that step farther. Though hitting these truly insane marks, it never goes too far so that you're taken out of the experience. Using this kind of ridiculousness helps its comedy by doing those kind of things that we would hate in movies, such as having a green screen background or, all the wire tricks on this movie. It's ridiculous, but fun.
On our watch list of spoof comedies, the next one we would be watching is Dracula Dead and Loving It from 1995. This is not a well-rated movie. In fact, it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes from both critics and audience. But I can tell you right now, it's a personal favorite of mine. Written by the always wonderful Mel Brooks, this is a spoof on all the Dracula movies and the literary books involving Dracula that came before. Leslie Nielsen plays Dracula, who obviously wants to drink blood and, be a vampire. But Van Helsing, played by Mel Brooks, has to come and wreck his good time. This may not be the best Mel Brooks film. In fact, it probably isn't, because the jokes don't come as hard or as cleverly as a lot of his other movies, but this is just a good time. Leslie Nielsen is killing it as Dracula, and I never knew it was something I wanted until I actually watched this movie. If there's one genre that needs to be made fun of, especially in modern society, it's vampires, and I think Mel Brooks took a pretty good stab at it. Fell a little short, but it never disappoints me whenever I watch it.
Next up on our watch list is 2001's Not Another Teen Movie. It follows the plot of She's All That to a T, which is the movie it's parodying. It also pokes fun at the teen rom-com genre in honestly all the right ways. It takes the most absurd aspects from these movies and cranks them up to 11. Thank you, This Is Spinal Tap, who unfortunately just missed out on our list. It is through these ridiculous aspects that the true humor comes out, and thus its brilliance. Honestly, seeing Chris Evans in a whipped cream bikini makes this movie worth it every time.
And I'm following up my last pick, which was a Mel Brooks film, with another one of Mel Brooks' films, and not the last one on this list, but I'm sure that's not surprising to you. We're going all the way back to 1974 with Young Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
This is a spoof of the Frankenstein movies, and just the old Universal monster movies in general. This movie is shot completely in black and white, with some fantastic acting by Gene Wilder as the nephew of the great doctor, who's trying to create his own Frankenstein monster. It's cleverly written, and what makes this even better and sets it up a notch above a lot of other spoof movies is Mel Brooks took this a step farther, and a lot of the sets, props, and things that were used in the movie were actually used in the 1931 version of Frankenstein. So, if you're going to watch any kind of Frankenstein movie, might as well make it this one, because you're going to get exactly what you got in the original, but you're going to laugh along the way.
If you've ever seen a horror movie, you know most of them start with A Cabin in the Woods, and that's the next movie we're talking about from 2011. This is a good spoof movie on horror movies in general, but more specifically the Evil Dead franchise. This movie sees all the classic horror movie character tropes being manipulated to appease ancient entities. This is a clever way to have a new story that explains many horror tropes and kind of plays off of them. While there's very few straight out jokes in this movie, most of the comedy comes from the commentary on these tropes. All the actors in this movie are playing caricatures of characters in other horror movies, like the virgin who's not actually a virgin, and the geek who actually survives the entire movie. Altogether, it's the best horror movie that knows exactly what it's doing.
And my last movie for our wonderful top 10 list here is going to be 1999's Galaxy Quest. I mean, if you know, you know.
You know?
This is a spoof of Star Trek movies, but in a 2013 poll, a lot of Star Trek fans actually voted it inside the top 10 Star Trek movies of all time, even though it actually has nothing to do with that franchise. But that goes to show how well done this movie is when it comes to characters, set design, story, alien introductions. It focuses more on the democracy side and trying to talk things out than it does with the bang bang, shooty shooty, pew pew action of some other space operas that we've seen. The amazing cast is rounded out by people like Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, and the late and great Alan Rickman. This is a movie that you will always have a good time with, whether you watched it in 1999 when it came out, you watched the Never Surrender documentary made by the people over at Fandom, or you're watching it in 2023. There will always be something you can find enjoyment out of this movie, because it comes with such a compelling story that pulls you in, and whether you are a fan of the Star Trek franchise or not, you're still going to get a lot out of this.
Last but certainly not least, we have 1987's Spaceballs, our fourth and final Mel Brooks film. Honestly, Mel Brooks, the GOAT of all spoof movies?
Yes.
Honestly, I think so. This one follows a very similar premise to its source material of Star Wars, but amps up the absurdity of it. Instead of characters like Jabba the Hutt, we get Pizza the Hutt, who is basically a giant sentient pizza. It's through embracing just how absurd this premise could have been that we get the true humor of this movie. Though clever jokes like, "We've been jammed," help immensely. This has always been a comfort movie for me, and I thank my dad for that. Not only did he introduce me to Star Wars, he introduced me to its parody, Spaceballs. And now I get the best of both worlds.
And that's our list of what we think, or what are our favorite, top 10 spoof movies of all time. Let us know in the comments below what is your favorite spoof movie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more great content. You can also click the floating box right here to listen to our take on Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. If you want to hear more from us, you can come follow us on all of our socials. Emily, where are they at?
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Link is in the description.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. And until then, keep watching movies.
Bye.